And it's a very historic day because when Merlin took over and made Legoland Florida, they took what had once been an icon. And can you tell us what it feels like today to put in that final brick, so to speak, in actually restoring the whole gardens?
Yeah. I think when we first came, as I said in the speech, when I first came, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up with the beauty of the gardens. And we own a number of historic gardens within Merlin, and these are no exception. And I think we've restored other gardens in other places. And here we knew that we had a national treasure. And I think that finishing particularly finishing on the Florida pool was quite significant for us. So, but this isn't the end. As I said, we're going to be adding more Lego elements in, sympathetic Lego elements that will entice new generations into the gardens to experience the beauty.
And did you face any challenges? I know you mentioned in your speech that the Florida pool was kind of challenging. Was it more work than you had really thought when you really got in there and started doing the restoration?
Not when we started doing the restoration, but the first thing we had actually a couple of alligators living in here, which was not great. So we had to firstly remove those by putting a piece of wood so they could get out. But no, I think a lot of people have a lot of memories about the Florida pool. But you know, we haven't got the tile around the edge, but we've restored the tiles, we've cleaned the pool out, and it's now recirculating water as well, which is the first point. But I think people just need to come down. It's a very nice, it's a very contemplatory spot here and the Oriental Garden, and it is away from the hustle bustle of the theme park. So I think it's kind of a nice to have that reflective area linked to the hustle bustle of the theme park. You know.
Is there any chance that the canal boats might make a return someday?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot of work that we've got to do on the canals in the future, and we're very aware of our responsibility there. But I think that is the next big project. Really. But I think the next stage is to add sympathetic Lego elements, you know, Lego animals, butterflies, things of that nature, and maybe add some kind of trail for children to follow, which again just gives parents a little bit of a respite from riding rides and shows and you know, and doing all the hustle bustle.
How long has it taken to restore this area of the park?
This area took about 2 or 3 months. It took a lot longer with the Oriental Garden because we had to restore the hut there and a lot of the pathways were really quite damaged over there. This hasn't taken as long as I thought. My team are awesome anyway, they do a great job. But you know, adding the bricks in this morning, it was quite an interesting watching them all deliver the brick and throw it in here this morning. But this didn't take as long as the Oriental Garden.
Will the bricks always be in the pool, or is it just for
No. These are bricks that we use in the water park.
Right.
But, no, but this was really just for the shot. I think, to be fair, we'll probably keep the oranges for now, and then we'll see how it goes. But at the end of the day, this is more of a contemplatory spot with the actual pool, and whether we do anything or put a fountain or something, who knows? I mean, at the moment, we just wanted to get the area open.
Do you have
Adrian, how do you?
Not this moment in time, but you know, Bob mentioned it to me actually. I think it would be nice, but I think we've also got to think about other areas in the gardens that might need more love and attention a little bit sooner. And I think the canals are probably the next area that we've got to start doing in phases, because that's a multi-million-dollar project. So you know, I know that we've gone for a restoration fund and all those kind of things, but understand that the canals is the next job for us to look at.
Adrian, how do you personally feel that you and your team brought back and restored such an iconic part of Cypress Gardens?
I think, I think a sense of pride actually, and I think a lot of the gardeners who've been working on this, you know, remember it from the old days, or they've got family or relatives who were bells or were water skiers, you know. And I've always said that me as a newbie coming into this market, everybody has a story to tell you about the Florida pool. How many times I've heard the story about have you been skinny dipping in the Florida pool? is you know, that goes without saying, and it breaks ice, it breaks barriers, just like Lego does. You know, Lego. Everybody always has a story about Lego in their attic or what toy they played with. The same can be said about the Florida pool and usually the escapades they've got up to. The initiation, as it's called, of the Florida pool.
Adrian, purely from the UK perspective, can you compare what you've done here to anything that's in any of the UK parks that our readers will know?
I think I can, a number of ways. Obviously, my little slip there of Alton Towers was pretty genuine. You know, I'm from Alton Towers originally, and the gardens there are you know, 15th century gardens, as you know, Simon. And I think we fully restored a lot of the conservatories there. We also did a lot of work on the cottage that overlooks the gardens, and we protect the fountains and repair them on an ongoing basis. And also Warwick Castle. You know, Warwick Castle is the finest medieval castle in England, and there's millions and millions of pounds pounds that has been spent on not just restoring the gardens in there and the peacock gardens, but also the historic castle itself. Which is difficult when you can't add modern materials. You've got to use old materials to make it genuine. So I think there's lots of examples where we've done that. Actually.
So, I mean, is there a sense also that you've been able to call on that expertise to really round out what you've done here?
I'd actually say no to that. I think it's local expertise and local pride and history about what plants went where and where they went. So we haven't actually consulted any of the gardeners because they're not familiar in England with the botanics in here really. So, but I think it's good that we've got the gardens here because then we are now being consulted elsewhere in Merlin about different things.
Yeah.
So it works the other way actually.
Excellent.
And do you see this as a multi-generational, like you mentioned, there'll be a lot more elements for kids, and I think like the Lego movie, I think will bring a lot of interest in that, really had that touching part about the generations. So do you see maybe grandparents, parents, and kids using the garden as a way to bond with those memories and bringing the kids attracted to the Lego elements?
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is we already are. I mean, it's not, grandparents are bringing their children here, and they are bringing them with stories about when they came to Cypress Gardens. I hear it all the time. I think obviously we haven't got the same kind of the flowers and the topiaries that we used to have. We still got them though. So there are plans to actually maybe bring in some of the topiaries that will then feature in different places as well. But I'm not going to say too much about that because again the topiaries were in a really bad way when we took the site. But we've restored some of them and we're looking at those to use them in the future.
How big is your landscaping team?
Oh, that's a good question. Catching me on the hop there. It's about 50 people, off the top of my head, obviously because we rotate. So, the commitment is not just about the landscaping team, though. We also have our engineering guys who have to repair the bridges, they have to do the pathways, and we have to be sympathetic to make sure the pathways are as they were, not completely replace them with different bricks. And then things like the Oriental Garden, we've had to add in an ADA pathway, which is something modern, but is the right thing to do.
Talking about the history of the pool in particular, will there be any collateral or anything up here to explain what it was and how it worked and the significance from that point of view?
Yeah, we are looking at ways of how we communicate that, ranging from the entrance sign. We are going to try and put some nostalgic pictures on there.
Right.
Whether there's any collateral is something that we'll look into.
Okay.
I think we're going to be working with Bob actually a little bit to try and get some of the old, it would be nice to have some information boards up here that we'll fix. But I think, as you know, we've got to make sure they are sturdy, they don't fade in the sun, and there's a lot of that we've yet to bring, because we do want to tell that story. That's the first thing, and I think that's appropriate now that we've opened up, we've finished the gardens. Now we can devote our attention to Legoizing the area, or adding the narrative that will support what we've done.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thanks for coming out. I always appreciate you coming out, and I'll be watching all your blogs later. Not to see me, but just usually when I fouled up.
Alton Gardens.
Alton Gardens. See there, you fouled up.
It would be a great location for a jacuzzi. Just look out on the lake.
I'm not going to say with a beer, but I've just said it. There you go.
All right, guys.
It is. off limits.